Welcome to Deepnight Revelation. We will be picking up where we left off last week. Last week, these guys solved in a um, conspiratorial and, I suppose, you know, unofficial way. They closed the case of the murder of Albrin Moss, the Black Marketeer. And involving in that, they discovered that there was a Jodani spy that has been aboard Revelation since Tobiah for the past 5.5 years. And so this Jodani spy was actually a sleeper agent, and that sleeper agent was actually Maia, and she is an EVA specialist, but now they also know that Maia has some psionic abilities, and some of those psionic abilities are of the bent that even Bocephus um, and Sarda don't have access to because they are from the Imperium. Bocephus having psionics naturally because of his species as the Chikari, and then you've got Sarda, who is was started as a talent, and but she's Yodani, and they actually have their own psionic talent, just simply called Yodani, and some of this involves their ability to manipulate machines or computers and electronics, and there's another one that is an extension of the teleport ability, which allows them to either send somebody else or to take somebody else with them or take something else with them. But I haven't looked too closely at that, but I would imagine it probably goes along the same lines as standard teleport, in that there's going to be a weight allowance, and your kinetic energy is going to, of course, translate. So
Space Wizard.
Yes. So yeah,
well, they had that shit in the first edition of Mongoose. They had all that machinery shit and everything. But then when second edition came out, it wasn't, because the Scion shit was in its own book.
Right.
In first edition.
Right.
And now we're in second edition, and
yeah,
now
they haven't done a psionics book for second edition, and I don't know, I think that would be a good idea. Personally,
I've been having a lot of fun being a fucking Jedi.
I also kind of wish, and I know that it is, of course, touched on in both the core rulebook and the central supply catalog, and in a way partially in the field guide. I kind of wish that they would do a psionics book, and I wish that they would do a computers and software book. And maybe they could even do cybernetic or augments in the computer book as well. But I would like to see, because we know that virtual reality and whatnot exists, but I would like to see more information on how these networks are constructed, and in a lot of ways, from what I've done in the past, I've been using a lot of the old information from TSR's old Alternity role-playing game. They did have a computer book called Dataware, and they made up some pretty good stuff. Like, there's no faster than light communications, and so basically, each of these networks, of course, wireless signals there would be a wide, on higher tech levels, a wide-ranging computer network throughout a solar system. And the problem, of course, with that is that then it leads to things like the agent program that you have here in Traveler, and which is I wouldn't say. I was going to say aware. It's not. Um, it is sort of like an expert program, but it is capable of self action, and you can tell it what you want to do, and you send it. And if you are on Mars, it's going to take 7 hours to get to the computer server on Earth, and then once it gets there, it'll do its thing and come back. And so that prevents the user from having to sit there and take up time where they could be doing probably much more useful things. But yeah,
if we had a lot harder, slower communication here, pirating would be a lot more easy. I mean, if it took like 20 minutes for a signal to get somewhere to say, hey, these son of a bitches are doing nefarious things to us.
Right.
I mean, by the time the message gets there, the delay and the back and forth and all that, you could really do a lot of damage.
Well, and that was one of the things that DataWare in the old days brought up, is that these agent programs were almost a character in and of themselves. They had, some kind of shield protection rating. They had some kind of offensive rating. And, they could, of course, be using an intrusion software of some type or a virus or whatever. And so they were almost a character in and of themselves. And this would account for that time dilation in between, or time change in between worlds and systems. I mean, if you think something like going from here to Mars is going to take a while, try going from somewhere from like here to fucking Pluto. That's going to take a long time.
Yep.
So
here to Alpha Centauri.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would take hundreds of years. And that signal would degrade.
Xenocide, and then whatever the hell book came after Xenocide, the original Ender's Game trilogy. They
Speaker for the Dead.
Speaker for the Dead. They proposed a very real, faster than light communication network of called an Ansible, with basically it's entangled particles.
Yeah.
Right. You tangle two particles, separate them.
Yeah, you're talking about string theory, and that I think that would be a fairly realistic one. And similarly, they had like in the BattleTech universe, they had the hyperpulse generators, which they never really explained how those worked. I know what the theory behind them is, but the actual transmission of the data never made a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, I mean, the string theory would be probably the most realistic form, but I don't think Traveler is touching on it yet, because string theory is still very much in its infancy, and so they probably aren't jumping the shark too far, which I think is funny because it's all science fiction anyways, so who gives a shit, but whatever. But anyways, so these guys discovered that Maia is a Jodani spy. They decided that instead of turning her in, they were going to cover up the murder of Albrin Moss, because Albrin Moss wasn't really the best individual. He was kind of a piece of shit, and they made it look like he had made advances on Maia, was trying to blackmail her, because she fully admits that she had gone to him for his access to psi drugs, and so and he was blackmailing her over it, and so that is why she killed him. And so they made it look like she actually was defending herself against him, and then of course they didn't even have to manufacture the evidence of his crappy nature. He had plenty of that incriminating himself in his own stateroom. So Maia has now been under the care of Dr. Bocephus, who has for the past 4 days has been making an attempt, while Revelation is in jump space, to try and help her put her shattered memories and personality back together, because right now she came out of her state, and instead of completely activating over to her Jodani self, parts of both personalities were triggered, and there is this shattering of psyche that is mixing the two together, which can have or has had a rather strained effect on her mental state and her personality and her emotional state, and is more likely part of the reason that she killed Albrin Moss. And so he's attempting to psionically assist her in the sick bays, or for the past 4 days, kind of putting her together. And so that is where we will be picking up before we get into the meat and potatoes of coming out of Jump. We would like to thank a friend of the Greenwater Guildhall before we get started. None of these are sponsorships or partnerships of any kind. They are just products that we really like. Tonight, we would like to thank AleHorn. AleHorn makes wonderful drinking horns out of oxhorn, and they are absolutely beautiful. They are highly polished and of excellent manufacture. My wife got me one a couple of years ago, and it is one of my favorite beer steins. It is a dark-colored ox horn, and it also came with a matching shot glass. And so, not that I, recommend everybody do a Boilermaker, but if you're going to, do it with an AleHorn drinking horn set. They have a lot of deals constantly going on. They especially seem to have a lot of sales, and the holidays. God, it feels weird saying this, but the holidays are coming up, not too far away. And so, if there is a gamer or a Viking enthusiast in your life, or if you just want a really cool drinking horn, go check out alehorn.com and go get yourself a horn. We also have a merch site via Zazzle. Our newest item on there is a Whiskey Rocks class with the Greenwater Guildhall logo on it. There is also a beer stein. There's a blanket. There are T-shirts. There are buttons. There are hoodies. There's all manner of things on there. And 100% of the proceeds from that store goes directly back into our channel. That helps us pay for things like our Roll20 Pro subscription and our Incarnate Pro subscription and all of the little nitpicky $5 to $10 items that seem to, at the end of the month, equal out $35 to $40. And so that helps us kind of match all of that so that we can continue doing what we do. So if you want to help us out, go get yourself a Whiskey Rocks glass and a beer stein, and we appreciate everything you do for us. All right. So Bocephus has been Bocephus, you can we're going to have you make a roll. I need to see which roll to make. I think you were using probe, right, to do this?
I was doing probing and maybe even using a combination of, if we're talking over days, send thoughts would apply, suggestion, would do
Yeah,
stuff.
I can see suggestion might
Yeah.
might
yeah
help.
yeah, and those compared with you add that and maybe lean a little bit on my psychology or social sciencing skill, more likely my psionic sciences.
Yeah, go ahead and well,
I've got all kinds of shit that would apply. It's just how do I want to argue it? I mean, you know what I mean?
go ahead and make a science. I guess that's social sciences.
Okay.
Plus intellectual education, and this is from the psychology or psychiatry end of this.
Okay.
You are both the ship's doctor and counselor.
Yeah. Love it. Love helping people with their mental health problems.
Yeah, you of all people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I say help people with their mental health problems, I give them problems to work out, and then they become stronger.
Yes,
See?
yes.
Yeah, but I got an
If
11.
they've got a few problems, I become the whole problem, and
Yeah.
it helps them.
I am
Um,
your problem now, Nancy.
so
Oh,
with an 11, if I will allow you to pick which direction you want to go with this, but because this is going to be kind of a mix between psychology and psionics in this case, because you're literally kind of trying to put her psyche back together. Because right now she's essentially got two, or it's split. Um,
can I do
so
it in a task chain
yeah,
with
so I'm going to say
some
that.
telepathy, psionic telepathy, and then education and social sciences?
So right now, so that was a three, an effective +3. So I will say that that is going to give you a +2 on whatever psionic ability you want to use on her.
Oh, +2. And telepathy, so that's another +2. And then I am going to. I'm going to go ahead and try to use. I'm gonna lean on suggestion, maybe.
Okay.
Uh, and I know she's got this block that's different than her normal personality, and I want to try to suggest that she open that up. I'm thinking she probably has the power in her to open this up. She just doesn't know how to necessarily do it, but it's her brain, and so I'm thinking that the key is in there.
Sure.
Uh,
So you need
um,
a 12 plus. It's a very difficult check, and it will cost 3
yeah.
psi points. But that's don't worry about the psi
Well,
points because this is over the course of like 4 days.
right. I want to try an inspiration
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
That's under the awareness psionic skill, which it tells me if I get an average of 8,
Yeah, and it gives you
that
what, a +2?
yeah, it'll give me +2 of my next roll. So Scion and awareness. I roll this. I need to get above an 8, so that's 11. So
Okay.
now I get my +2 on the task chain plus another 2. And now I'm rolling for my suggestion, and I get a 12.
That's really good that you
There
did
we
use
go.
the suggestion. So your suggestion just works. No bonus, but now you can make a. Let's see. What is your science
Is it
so
2?
science psychology plus intellect or education.
So then we'll say +3 to this roll. And then any bonuses I get from anything else that I've done. I got a 13, so I think
Yes.
that's probably all right.
So your your part of this is a little bit of I guess you could say probably a little bit of hypnosis.
Mhm.
Um, of course, the session starts out with the normal psychology stuff, just chit chatting about her and what it is that she's going through, some of her memories. It then leads into hypnosis, of course, and then as you are kind of delving through the shattered remnants of some of these memories, you, of course, use your suggestion to kind of push her into a direction to kind of push all of these shattered mirror fragments together. And then using your psioncology, you are able to basically bring her through that action adequately and harmlessly. She doesn't get a nosebleed at all. And so at the end of this, you do learn some interesting information, and what that comes out as. And do I even? No, I don't have that. Never mind. What you learn is that you learn some information about things that you probably shouldn't know.
That's the information I like to have.
Right. And I need to look at a map. Look at what? That's because I spelled it wrong.
Yeah, my next idea was to try a psionic assault on her to see if that would trigger things. But
that doesn't seem very nice at all.
well, I mean, that would be like a defensive mechanism to kick her old psionic DNA into overdrive, But I mean that would be a last resort, and definitely something that I would not do until after I got a fresh DNA sample so I could clone her.
Right. Yes. Always clone first.
Of course, you never know.
Evan, I want.
I feel like Jay and MIB, like, how many times have you flashy thinged me? How many times have you cloned me already?
I've not successfully cloned anybody, but I have been able to alter some DNA in some of our species that we've come across. Like those one people, I evolved that one chick, and she was a smart queen when all the others were just dumb breeders.
That's true.
Yeah, so I mean that was great. I did those people a wonderful thing. They'll have civil war and strife for several generations, but after that it'll level out. I mean, great.
All you need is for it to level out.
Yeah, sooner or later. That's all you ask, that things level out a little bit.
All right. So I'm making a map.
Gonna show us stuff.
I'm going to show you something.
Y'all see that little video where the dude is like, "What if I snap my fingers and you will forget you were ever gay?" And he's, and then the dude,
Yes.
man, I was never gay. And he's like, "Yeah, right. See?" And he's like, "No, I was really never gay." He goes, "Exactly."
So perfect.
Yeah.
You can't just. I mean, but I'm.
But
just
yeah,
saying.
I mean, that dude's gone viral. He's got a whole bunch of them. Like, if a mosquito can fly, then why can't a fly mosquito?
They can. It's called a deer fly. They don't drink blood, though.
Ooh.
They just outright, take a chunk.
If you could take like horse flies and rip their wings off and sew them in the inside of somebody's jock strap.
Oh, God.
Yeah, upside down so their little biters were facing in. Oh.
Ugh.
Why would you even have that in your head as a thought?
We're talking about flies that were biting. And those
Why? But why? But why that thought? Why?
Because
that?
everything should have a use, man. And something randomly flying and biting motherfuckers just don't seem like a good use. But having somebody, go through torturous pain, could be used. What if it's a child rapist? Would you support me doing that to them then? See?
Oh goodness!
You like, well, I can't say no, right? So.
I don't know what to do with you sometimes.
there's people that wait on me, like, the checkout lady at the Dollar General and everything. She'll be sitting there and she'll be like, "I ain't got time for you today, Wes. I really don't. I have any time for you." Because I'd be like, I went to the bathroom, Well, first you start out and you'd be like, is it a rule that the employees are supposed to wash hands after go to the bathroom? And they always go yes, and then they have to. They can't say no. And so I'll be like, well, I came here the other day and I waited 30 minutes and nobody washed my hands after I took a big shit. And I want to know what's up with that. Is there a buzzer or something I'm supposed to push?
So this is way. So she tells you part of this information that she reveals goes all the way back to charted space.
Wow.
And I mean, this can be kind of considered. I mean, it is charted space, but it's like right on the very edge. And this is a region called the Vanguard Reaches. And Vanguard Reaches, is that right? Man, Traveler Map is slow tonight. You can do it. Yes, Vanguard Reaches. And so it is like at the very edge. And one of the interesting features of the Vanguard Reaches, so up here, so this little blue area is actually a province. It is the Jodani Consulate Colonnade Province. And the reason why this is notable is that it's quite a ways. Well, it's about 2 subsectors rimward of the actual Jodani Consulate, but it takes up, let's see, like 2 subsectors of the coreward region of Vanguard Reaches. So I mean that it's not connected, directly to the consulate. There's some blank space in between the borders, but they have this huge area of space that they have colonized, and she tells you that they have been moving rimward, and that there are extensive research and scouting missions going on in the Helix Nebula. Now, the Helix Nebula, you guys actually went through the Helix Nebula. But I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 parsecs in diameter, and you didn't, of course, go through the middle. I think you skirted the edge of it, but it was of interest to the science team. But beyond that, and these Jodani scout ships and research assignments, she tells you she doesn't have 100% knowledge, because she's not a part of that project. And of course, everything the Jodani consulate does, they insulate themselves. They have a very cell nature to the way they disseminate information amongst the different groups. And so if one member of the cell is cut off, then the other members of those cells aren't going to they may not have that information, or he's not going to be able to give it up. And so she tells you that what she knows is that one, she thinks that it may be that this research that's going on there may have something to do with the Deepnight entity, and the second half of that is that it also has something to do with Ancients technology. It is her belief that there, at the dead center of this Helix Nebula, there is something there that has to do with the Ancients. Now, of course, this is, 5.5 years worth of travel behind you. But
no, I mean, see, what I'm thinking is, and hear me out, is, remember I took on, I kind of psionically downloaded that dude's memories for all those many, many years,
Yes.
And he was one of those little bird people, right?
Yeah, he was a droid.
Yeah, he was a droid.
Originally.
yeah, and he got overtaken by the entity.
Yes. On purpose.
Correct. And so he's got all that. So I'm wondering if maybe God, I need to come up with a way that I could take her crazy zoo knowledge, and put it in the same vessel as this other expansive drawing, thing, and see, what kind of matches up there. I mean, God, there's seems like a lot of information that we haven't been able to.
Yeah, and so like the information that you got from I want to say his name was Troyavask. The information you got from Troyavask, linking up with him, you were hurriedly copying that information down into a database, and the reason why you were in a rush is because, I mean,
Place is
there was
falling apart.
basically 300,000 years worth of data dump in a very short amount of time, and the problem is that your brain just simply can't it can't process all of that information that quickly, and so over the longer the longer it has been since that event, which now is 3 years behind you, the more difficult it is for you to remember it. So in the few weeks after that event, you were spending all your time, basically locked up in your quarters writing out this database. And there is a lot of course, gaps and holes in this data that or this information that you've put into this database, because, it's just difficult for you to keep all of that, going. But you do still get flashes of information, or like something like this that she tells you. I will allow you to roll 2D plus your psionic modifier.
How about 12?
Okay, so it does trigger a flash of memory for you, and what you seem to get an image of, it is a large, and when I say large, I'm talking on a stellar scale, a large structure towards the center of the Helix Nebula.
Like the size of a star?
Not quite that big, but yeah, something that probably small
Bigger than a
planetary,
gas giant?
small planetary scale. Maybe about the size of Triton.
God. I have no clue what the fuck that might be, though.
No, but that's the
Oh, well-
image that comes into your head, is that it is sitting at the center of the Helix Nebula.
Well, it's really important that I take the next 3 days in the Jump Space week and record that shit.
Okay. Write down in
Yeah.
your personal journal.
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be something in case I die that it can be, accessed or whatever.
Had a thought while
I mean-
probing the Jodani today.
Yeah, and real quick, is it at all possible that I can do that another time? So we can go on.
Okay. So in the 4 days that are left of Jump, the issue then comes to Mel. What is your decision moving forward? And of course, I mean, not that they're asking Mel directly about this, because I don't know that they would actually know. Captain and XO are not directly questioning Mel about what your plans are for the black market, but the topic has been brought up that it seems that the pressure that was on the black market seems to be lightening a bit, because your conversation with Carlos kind of tended to loosen things up a bit, but it's still not where it was. And so the question then comes as to what Mel's plan, now that he's sitting on all of Albrin Moss's surplus, of what it is that you want to do with that.
So we don't want to have a monopoly. So clearly, somebody besides who's the guy whose name you just said and went right out of my head.
So I know his name is Carlos, but that's a good question. What is his name? His name is Crew. Oh, there they are. I was like, am I looking in the wrong book? I know I'm not looking in the wrong book. No, I'm right. Carlos Mirakaru was the other black marketeer, and so you did have a small chat with him. He's another lazy, sleazy, typical black marketeer kind of guy. Not quite as repulsive as Albrin Moss, but he's definitely lazy. But he doesn't appear lazy unless you are in command looking down and you're like, wow, that's a lazy son of a bitch. But he's smart because he got everybody around him to do his work for him, and none of them think that he's lazy. They all think it was their job. He's one of those guys. So I mean, you had a chat with him, and he's kind of starting to, because he's not in competition with Albrin anymore, and so he is slowly releasing things back into black market. He can't do it all at once because that would draw too much attention to himself.
Right, but you don't want a monopoly on the market. You need to have somebody else, and I'm curious what people think a suitable alternative would be.
Well, I mean, you could pick one of the other crew. Although
all right,
all the ones that you selected seem like, or not selected, all the ones that you talked to seem like they were in various stages of chronic fatigue syndrome and showing signs of emotional and mental distress. So I don't know if you want that either.
Don't want anyone getting high in their own supply.
Right. And so, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, are there suitable
I think Mel ought to
that I can
fucking
look into?
step the fuck up, man. Step the fuck up and start selling some drugs. You know, I have some hallucinogenic alcohol things that I set up at the very beginning of all of this. I'd be more than willing to let people do that, provided that you could give me some just ask them select questions to give me back data on
And
what
you guys
that
already
did
have
for
a
them.
corner on the market for the best intra-ship still and alcohol available. So there's
Yeah.
I also just Pappy being a pilot and always going off ship and stuff could easily get new stuff too.
Well,
True.
I do have a
He could be a little like triumphant.
I have a massive supply of shit. I just don't know if you want somebody in management being one of the kingpins in the black market. It would be better for us to find a suitable, pliable alternative that we can use this to keep pressure on.
Just do it proxy. Do it by proxy. Find somebody that fucking will lick ass if you tell them to, and let that person be the person that does all your shit. You supply.
I don't know, like maybe our psionic chick that we just found out about that needs us to keep her quiet.
She might be a great person to do the black market stuff. I mean, I could definitely, she's already kind of, got a reputation of killing a motherfucker.
Right?
We're already skirting the line there with that, with her though, right? We're already by law we should be busting her, right? But we're keeping her at the source. I don't want to. So not only did you let her live, but you made her a black market kingpin.
Well, I think if we perhaps got some kind of device and implanted it on her, a detonation device, if she steps out of line.
So I will allow you to. So Jack, you can make an admin plus intellect or education check.
I know which one I'm going to choose.
Or some for the paperwork, man. That's where the strength of the game is. If you can file paperwork, you do what the fuck you want.
It's like life, you know.
Yeah.
So I got
Not
10.
bad.
So 10. Yeah. So of the people that you met over the course of your investigation, find this guy. There he is. There was one, and I'm going to probably butcher his name, Jocubus Mains, or Mains. He is a career spacer. And he's one of those guys that has spent his entire life working on space vessels, a string of them. He's always been honorable as far as his credentials for the career was, but he just never seemed to be able to get that big score or to have that career-making achievement. And so never was really promoted in any of the crews that he was on. He is clearly a hardworking and diligent individual in almost a fatalistic sort of way. He gets the job done one way or the other, and he has a determination to succeed, but he just never really got there. And I mean, he succeeded in doing his job. It's just it was never anything spectacular. He moved cargo from this end of the ship to the other, and he collected a paycheck and moved on. And so that was one of the that was his reason for signing up with Deepnight Exploration LIC for this mission. He doesn't particularly have any experience with exploration or alien races, or he's not scientific. He is just really good at space stuff. Your day-to-day space shit, maintenance and cargo management and things like that.
He's the coggiest of the cogs.
Yes, he is the average cog in the wheel, or in the wheel.
He would be good at moving around the whole ship. I mean,
he does.
If you wanted somebody that could get in touch with lots of different, crew parts of the ship and different people in different, job roles. I mean, if he's just a maintenance man, delivery, cargo specialist, he's always bringing people shit. Anyway,
in the notes from Dr. Bocephus's counseling sessions, Dr. Bocephus was under the impression that Jocubus is dependable. He's good company. He can sometimes be suspicious of others, but ultimately, if ultimately Bocephus doesn't think that Jocubus really believes in himself. But he does think that if there was some potential for him to get some kind of big success, it might inspire him to meet his potential. Otherwise, he just seems to
inspired.
he just seems to do his job without a whole lot of enthusiasm, and mediocre success is okay with him.
Let's be the reason he shines.
Yeah. But let him know he'll be under our thumb. Or he's smart enough to recognize it.
He's just a puppet. He's your puppet to do the black market stuff. And if as long as he communicates, I mean, you can keep tabs on whatever the fuck he's doing pretty easily if you wanted to, or
you could turn him into a kingpin.
Yeah. Or you can just let him do his thing.
As a spacer, he has access to pretty much all of the cargo holds on every portion of the ship. And because he's a spacer, he's frequently a part of maintenance teams, and so he has access to every nook and cranny anywhere.
Nowhere to hide stuff.
Right.
All right. Okay. So let's approach Jacobus.
Okay. So you approach Jacobus. This time he is currently working down in one of the. He's working maintenance and down in one of the hangars. And so you come into the hangar and he's there doing maintenance on one of the Deepnight boats, one of the launches. He's got a socket wrench in his hand and he's doing his thing.
Okay, I had to remember to hit push to talk. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, so Jacobus, how are you doing today?
He comes out on his creeper and kind of stands up, dusts himself off, and salutes. Commander, what can I do for you today?
You recall our last conversation that we had?
He says, yeah, you were, there was a whole bunch of things going on. I was getting yelled at, and, which isn't unusual. And you were asking about if I knew anything about Rakes Delvon, who had her little museum in the corner of one of the cargo holds.
So, as part of that investigation, we have determined that one of the principal suppliers of fun time playthings, trademark pending, has been murdered. We believe we've solved the murder, but it leaves us with a conundrum. There's a key player missing on this ship. Do you know anybody who might be interested in filling that position?
He says, he kind of looks around. And he says, I can by the use of the terms key player and what you're asking, I can assume that, sir, this is all off the record.
We're not even talking right now.
He says, "Oh, okay." He says, "So I'm correct then in assuming that you're talking about Albrin Moss." And he kind of leans forward and he goes, "Word gets around quick." He says, "So, yeah, Albrin Moss was one of the two major players as far as the black market aboard the ship goes." He says, "I don't know." He says, I can see why you wouldn't want Carlos Mirakaru having a complete monopoly on the situation. And he says, I can see that the black market is a pressure release valve that has been closed for far too long, in my opinion. He says, I myself could do with a drink. He says, I don't know. He says, there's, of course, Yusuf Holland, although if you put Yusuf Holland in that position, it's more than likely that it's going to go to Yusuf's head, and you're going to have a similar problem to what you already had. Because there's Neam McCabe. She had a brush with the entity in her past, and and the reason why I know that is because she's like somebody who does CrossFit. She tells you that in the first 5 minutes of the conversation. So he says those are. I mean, of course, Neam McCabe would have access to almost anybody because, of course, she wants to talk to them. He says. Honestly, he says, Rakes Delvon being the curator of this little museum might not be a bad situation, but I don't know that she's got the nerve for it.
Well, I think you're probably right in your assessment. So, I guess let me stop beating around the bush. Congratulations, you have a new supplier.
He's kind of taken aback, and he says, okay. He says, I mean, um, you're coming to me in an unofficial capacity, but you are in command. He says, so is this like an official function, or how does this work?
Well, since we're not having this conversation, this is not an official position.
Okay.
It could help his official standing somehow, maybe.
That's
Sorry, I
true.
shut up.
No, that's true.
Let me put you this
I'm
way.
not there for this conversation.
Let me put you this way. All of his shit is now mine, and I need to move it.
He says, I would think that you would have the ability to do that, but I can see the problem that you might run into, being somewhat in an official logistics position. He says,
Somewhat?
right. He says, so go ahead and make a persuasion plus, your choice. You can either do persuasion plus charm or persuasion plus social.
All right, I don't have a charm score.
So roll 2d. Oh my, you are not charming at all.
Well, my social's not a shit ton better.
So that's your charm score would give you a -1. What's your social?
Well, my social's 9.
So that's a +1. Yeah, go ahead and roll a persuasion plus social.
That's not so bad.
That ain't so bad at all. So, yeah, he tells you, he says, well, I mean, sounds like it would be helping you out, and from what I can see, I think it would be helping out the ship, or at least a lot of my crewmates. So he says, I will agree to do it. So you now have Jocubus Mains as your second black marketeer contact, which brings us to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If I hit something, it was an accident.
Oh, okay. So that brings us to Pappy. What is it that Pappy is focusing on during these 4 days? Anything in particular?
Nah, I mean, probably not. I mean, we're not going anywhere. If anything, probably just either hitting a simulator or, trying to find someone to spend some downtime with. Pappy's got to have at least one main squeeze on the ship, yeah?
Yeah. So Pappy can roll a persuasion plus. Well, just roll 2d plus either your social or your charm modifier.
2D plus social R charm. What is my social R charm? Social is non-existent.
You have no social.
It's a 0.
Oh, your social is 0 exactly.
No, it's my modifier.
Your modifier is 0. Okay.
It's
okay.
like no, not that.
What about your charm?
Charm? I don't see charm. Where's charm?
So roll 2d. We'll find out what
2D.
What your charm is. I thought. that I... Before we take that, hold on here. Let me...
What would charm be under?
It is on the left side towards the bottom. Oh. Okay. Oh, wait, there it is. Nope.
I have a rating of 7.
A 7 in charm?
Yes. So that's a 0 modifier.
Okay, so, I mean, roll 2d plus 0.
I got an 8.
Okay.
Unless you want me to roll again.
No, that's fine. So, you, in your time in the hot tub with David Anderreich and Neam McCabe, you kind of struck up a bit of a friendship with Neam McCabe. And she is a little weird. But she's not
I'm pretty
unattractive.
sure I've got to be a little bit weird too. I mean, I'm out here like playing around with other races and stuff. You know.
Yeah, you're all a little weird, but I mean, she's weird on the traumatized conspiratorial level. So she was the only survivor of her crewmates that encountered or had a brush with the Deepnight entity, and she has some paranoia about what the expedition will find once it gets to Terminus Point. She is a little bit fascinated by it, not quite in a fatalistic way, but she is interested. But she has like this paranoia that has led to a study of unusual and extreme life forms, and basically she is constantly fighting for tighter protocols to avoid any kind of infestation that might occur on Deepnight. But not like you guys who like for instance Bocephus and Sarda, who take it to the logical level. Like, we know that this is what we're dealing with and this is what we have to do to protect ourselves from it. She is more of there's more of a panic state to it. Almost to the point that she's like a germphobe. Like, in her stateroom, she doesn't allow people to wear shoes. They have to wear ship slippers, and she goes over you with a black light kind of thing if you come visit her, all sorts of stuff. But you've struck up a relationship with her.
How fun.
I mean, not that David Anderreich was really, going there. They were simply talking on a strictly scholarly level about Deepnight. You were able to, being Pappy who he is, just kind of work that in. So that's kind of who you've been spending time with for the past 4 days.
Nice.
At the end of the 4 days, the ship, you get the alerts stating that Revelation will be exiting jump in, within the next 10 minutes, and so you guys make your way to the bridge, as you normally do, and Deepnight exits. Now, this point, this exit point, isn't just refueling. At this stage, you have kind of caught up to a number of the Erline ships that had gone out ahead of you, weeks ahead of you. And so some of these Erline ships, the reason why they had to leave weeks ahead of you is because they're only like J1, and so in a lot of cases they had to set up fuel depots, and things. They had to make a chain so that they could make their way along. And you note, you coming out of jump in this system, you note that there is immediately you note that there are reports that there are fewer Erline ships than expected. So some of these ships either haven't arrived yet or were lost. Let's see.
That's to be expected, really, kind of, isn't it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, this is a long jump for them.
Expected one thing, but I mean, do we expect a few? Do we expect this many?
So out of the Erline ships, there were 10 ships, and that were kind of involved in this jump. Of these, 6 of them are missing, so there's only 4 ships here. So yeah, that was quite a few. I mean, and the reports from the crews of the Erline World ships they're essentially stating, that of these 6 ships that are lost, really 3 of them are technically not lost yet, but they should be arriving within the next 3 days. They were just simply behind. Of the other 3, they're currently unknown status, but they're hopeful. The sensor operator immediately, of course, starts scanning the system. Launches and pinnaces are launched under standard procedure. This system consists of a K4 star, and there are the sensor pings are coming back that there are a total of 6 large planets, 4 small planets, and 2 gas giants. In between the 3rd and the 4th world, there is a large asteroid belt. And almost immediately, as soon as that sensor sweep hits that belt and comes back to Revelation, you can see that there is what appears to be a lot of activity going on in this belt. And this system looks like this. And one of the Erline ships radios back and says, I believe that we have arrived at the Erline homeworld.
Right.
Let me...
So we believe these people here know how to cross the rift, right?
So no. Hold on. So not necessarily. What you are believing so this was information that was found in the computer cores. Remember, the Erline worlds and the sovereigndoms, who are also Erline, don't know where their homeworld is. It wasn't until you guys raided the Citadel that you got the computer cores from that Citadel that actually had information about the Erline home system. And so the Erline haven't known where they came from for like 3,000 years. And the Citadel, they built the Citadels. The initial Citadel that they built essentially did its job. It was not necessarily an AI, but really fairly advanced but limited expert intellect system. And it detected that there was some kind of infection that had come to the Erline homeworld. And it, in its wisdom, chose to its job was to protect the Erline excuse me, the Erline species, and it knew that there were other colonies of the Erline. And so the only choice that or the most logical choice that it had was it couldn't risk that infection coming off of the homeworld from a colony ship, and so it opted to bombard the planet with asteroids, and I mean like a constant rain of asteroids and comets until for 10 to 20 years, and it just obliterated it, and that was its solution. But this does match up with the data that you found from the computer cores, and I probably had you about right. That's about 100 diameters. So there's this small gas giant, there's this larger gas giant. This larger gas giant has 9 moons, and the sensor ping that is coming back is, like I said, there's a flurry of activity coming from in here. There is some activity around the what is this? The second world here. If you want, whoever would like to make a electronic sensors plus intellect or education check to kind of get a little bit more information, certainly can.
I do
That'd
not
be
have
one of
sensor.
y'all. Ain't me.
I'd have sensors of 0, and then I'd have a +1 from either intelligence or education.
Well, I've got I have comms 2 and computers 1. I have nothing. I don't even have 0 in.
You'll have
sensors.
0.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
you'll have
if you've
0.
got electronics
I'll
comms,
get
you
0.
automatically would have 0 in sensors. You have
All right.
0 in everything else that's electronics. But you have like a +3 to your education, right?
Right, and I just got an 11.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of take a look at this. Do you want to look at the activity going on in the asteroid belt or the activity going around the second planet?
Gentlemen, I'm thinking the second planet. What do you think?
I was thinking the asteroid belt was closer.
Okay. I'll focus on the asteroid belt.
Okay. So the asteroid belt. Hold on here, let me take a look. There are 3 notable structures here that are, I mean, aside from all of the other crap that's going on here. Why am I feeling like there's something missing? Oh no, never mind. I just wasn't scrolled up enough. So the first thing that you're seeing is, I'm gonna dig out my text tool here. The first thing that you see is this. So right here, you are seeing that there is an active shipyard that's going on. But not a shipyard like, it's very crude. The shipyard is actually, it seems to be building an asteroid craft. And from the sensor scans that you're detecting, it is entirely automated. And nothing that it is doing when you zoom in on it is it's not the most economical or efficient way of doing anything. And so this asteroid that is being converted into a ship is essentially it's taken tens of maybe 100 years to be built to this state. And you immediately recognize that it is building another citadel. The next thing that you see there's this large asteroid here. This thing is an elliptoid. It's very long. But the thing that you are noticing the most about it is that it is spinning in a single direction at a constant rate, and your sensors are estimating that that would give the interior, or really the surface of it, a near constant gravity measurement of 0.9 g. Which is, I mean, this is weird for any object that's just floating in an asteroid belt. You don't see the chaos that you see with most of the other asteroids.
Then I bet that's a ship.
The third thing that you see, and this one, I mean, I don't know, maybe you would have seen this first. You see a really big citadel. Your guess is that it is probably the original, and it has apparently been modified in some way over the past couple thousand years. It looks like there's been other asteroids grafted onto it. It is kind of morphed into these what it is today. It doesn't look like the one that you assaulted before. It is much bigger. Kind of looks like that.
It's healthy.
Yeah, it's beefy. And so, the last thing that you note about this asteroid belt is that you can see that a number of the asteroids are holed out. So what you're seeing is a large-scale mining operation, all completely automated. But you are seeing that you are picking up there are a number of defensive-type drones that are throughout this asteroid belt, and they're basically drones that are built into some of these smaller asteroids.
So it's like they have the whole asteroid belt as a defensive mechanism to gatekeep what's inside.
The other thing that you pick up in the asteroid belt, and this is the last thing that we will put on here. You pick up a number of ships that are drifting close to one another, but kind of just drifting and no power signatures. There's no EM signatures coming from these ships at all.
Well, we've got these Erline dudes that we've escorted or have just showed up. I mean, are they not talking to their people or anything?
I mean, yeah, you've got they haven't the Erline ships haven't done anything because their orders were to wait until Deepnight Revelation arrives. But I mean, in communications with these other ships, I mean, you can hear, you know, the Erline are excited by the fact that this is their home system.
I really like to know what that big planet is with the moons and you know, I mean, if they had an infection and the Deepnight entity was here, you know, we would like to know that.
Right. So this small gas giant, there's another small planetoid out here that, it's probably an icy rock. You could probably, if you wanted to do ground operations, you could, of course, crack water and do it the hard way. There's this planet around the K4 star, very close, very hot, but potentially could yield some mining activity, probably in the range of things like iron. Um, the two obvious refueling points thus far are, and of course this is part of your primary. We're looking for gas out of jump. So where do we refuel? There's this small gas giant, and then there's a large gas giant here that has 9 moons. Nobody's taken a look at the gas giant, the large gas giant, or planet number 2 yet. But it's your choice of where you want to go for refueling ops.
I mean, can we get Mel to scan the fucking big gas giant with the 9 moons, and we can see if there's anything there? I mean, is there activity there?
You can go ahead and scan that.
Certainly try.
+3 rocks.
Jeez. Okay. Oh shit. All right.
I discovered every goddamn thing about that place.
Yes, you did. So this is a large gas giant orbited by 9 smaller and larger moons. And on one of these moons, you are picking up technology signs. You're picking up tech signs like in the form of structures, but you're not picking up any EM signatures.
That's interesting.
Man, we need to go inspect the former colony, I think. I think we ought to jump in our little, I think we ought to ask the ship to refuel at the smaller gas giant after you scan it to make sure nothing nefarious there. And then while they're refueling that, we go look at the formal colony. That's what I think we should do.
The sensor operator on the bridge scans the second planet, and he finds something very interesting. The second planet shouldn't technically be there, but what they are picking up is that it is a highly tectonically active planetary body. It says the surface has doesn't necessarily have it does have life-sustaining conditions, but it is a hellhole that is has been extensively mined, and it is not tectonically stable. There are several visible volcanoes. It is pockmarked by countless craters, and there are numerous satellites that can be seen in orbit, and they are picking up EM signatures directed from this satellite, directed towards you, towards Deepnight Revelation.
Well, I guess we need to start refueling.
Okay.
Before they get here.
Right.
And yeah. And if they're scanning us and looking at us, then anything they have coming our way we should just watch for it and react accordingly. But I think we ought to be prepared to leave this fucking place at the quickest convenience. I mean, if anything looks funky, I mean, large asteroid-sized ships. I mean, do they look like they have asteroid-sized guns too?
No, it looks like they are using. Hold on here, and I'll show you the picture. It looks like they are all equipped with these mass driver arrays.
Well,
But you're talking like hundreds of them. So basically, these things are just going to shoot, or they're just going to chuck iron-filled rocks at you, like in a shotgun kind of pattern.
Yeah. Well, and that's not anything we want, coming at us. I think we ought to refuel and then maybe let our guys that wanted to go look at their home world.
You do have some Erline aboard too. You've got an Erline representative, you have a Tenepal representative, and you have a representative from the Sovereigndoms. They're of course all on the bridge as well, just kind of in awe. They both the Sovereigndom and the Erline rep are in agreement with Bocephus that you should definitely check out the possible former colony around this large gas giant. They are hoping that there is more information about their people, because they don't have any real history beyond what they have made themselves over the past 3,000 years. So they would be very interested in whatever is on that colony. They're not exactly certain, what's going on with this the second planet, but the Tenepal representative brings up that they think this second planet might have been the Tenepal homeworld, and the reason why it's so tectonically screwed up is that it's been bombarded by asteroids for 2 or 3 decades.
Well, I mean that would be the way I would go about trying to destroy a planet full of the fungus.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this. I mean, it seems cold and draconian, but I'm not. I'm not of the opinion that the Citadel was necessarily wrong. It followed its programming. I mean, the proof of that is that there are Tenepal and Sovereigndom members standing right here on your bridge.
Well, I mean, considering we see activity and everything, I mean, I think we ought to try to observe to see what the fuck they are. I mean, I just don't want to get caught in a hostile action and have to, deal with a bunch of repairs and dead people, especially in something that, I mean, as far as Bocephus is concerned, really all I give a fuck about doing is crossing the Great Rift and going to the fucking to the end,
Right.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I want to go confront the Deepnight entity, and that's all. That would be the only reason I want to investigate too much of anything, is to see if the entity was here. How did they deal with it? Did it actually get eradicated? And then that would be that. It was Pappy that was fucking the Erline.
No, he was fucking a Tenepal.
Okay, sorry, Pappy.
But so we have Erline
Get your
on the
alien
ship.
species right, okay?
We have Erline on the ship, and there's potentially hostile ships moving towards us, right?
They're not moving towards you. The active satellites around this tectonically active second planet have clearly sent EM signals scanning towards you. You're picking up a lot of EM signals and mining activity in the asteroid belt. And you're aware that there are some defensive drones and structures in the asteroid belt, but you're not seeing any activity like weapons arming or anything like that. But it's clear that Citadel Prime is probably aware that you guys are here.
I believe that. Maybe we could send those Erline ships to go talk to Citadel Prime and see what they're talking about while we go to the former colony.
That's a possibility as well.
Are there loose radio signals out and about?
Go ahead and make a electronics comms plus intellect or education check. I don't know who's got comms. If not, I can have a plebeian do it. Okay, so
And that's with a 1.
yeah, you are picking up some. You're not picking up any chatter, and you're not picking up any voice kind of signals. You are picking up radio data transmissions in binary throughout the asteroid belt and communicating with this with the satellites around this second planet and with Citadel Prime. But you're not. That could just be orders for work orders or what have you. But I mean, it seems that these radio signals have been going on since probably before you arrived. And the Erline, the 4 Erline ships have been sitting here for a day and a half, and they weren't attacked.
Yeah, I think we should take the Desnex to the former colony and see what's what. That's where we'll get I mean, if that's just a big automated thing that's been going on loose with that crazy half-ass AI or whatever, I mean, it's got guns, and while it might be attacking us, it might not want us getting near there. We could refuel and find out if that's beneficial or not to fuck with, you know.
Yeah.
I believe Sarda would be real skeptical.
Right. Yeah, he'd probably be like, "No, fuck this. Let's refuel and leave."
Yeah, he might be. I don't know. Again, I mean, I understand that we're helping all these things with political stuff with their, stuff, but I'm trying to stop an extinction level event for the whole cosmos, and
well,
so
the other thing to keep in mind. So the Erline, I mean, yes, you are helping with the political stature of pretty much this entire sector of space, but part of this too is, of course, the Erline are actively trying to help you to cross, or at least partially cross, the Great Rift.
And we have at least a half-assed theory that this might be where the Black Goo started, and there might be information on that gas giants colony structure.
Yeah. There could there might also be information. I mean, if the Erline technically made it out as far as they did, because you guys have been traveling across the sector for a while, so they were pretty prolific. Who's to say that they didn't have a way of crossing the Great Rift? So there could be all manner of useful information here.
Yeah, then we do it.
Let's get some info.
We're going to former colony. It looks like then we've had no objections and only positive things about people wanting information.
Well, can we, as long as we're by the gas giant, can we use that to refuel too?
I mean, you could have Deepnight Revelation go to the large gas giant and make it even shorter trip for the Desnex.
I have no problem with that,
Okay.
But just I want people looking at all those other moons and making sure nothing sneaks up on the ship,
Right.
I mean, while you're doing the refuel, nothing saying I can't do like a Little flyby before we start the refuel. Do a little
Hell
circuit.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got plenty of pilots that can go out and do the refuel, or even theoretically speaking, Revelation itself could do scooping runs. So yeah. So let's.
200 tons of fun.
All right. So put Dr. Bocephus back on the map.
And my little Zodani friend, I am going to I'm going to put her on stasis.
Oh, you're gonna put her in a cryo berth?
Yeah, because I mean, she's flaky. She's not all put together yet, and while I've gotten information and all that, I don't trust anybody else to deal with her but me, and so she needs to chill,
Okay.
and the best way I know to do that is just to put her on a nice pause.
Okay. Okay. So you put her in her low berth jammies and put her on ice. So Pappy, you can go ahead and make a piloting spacecraft plus dexterity check.
Piloting spacecraft. Do. Wait. Piloting starship or small craft?
It'd be Starship.
Starship. Submito.
Nice. So you, as Revelation kind of comes in, and I have this image in my head. There's a NASA image from Cassini that captures two of, I believe it's either Jupiter or Saturn's moons, and they're like these tiny dots as they're going by in orbit around, showing how big this gas giant is. So it'd be kind of like that. You just see this. The Revelation looks absolutely tiny compared to this massive super Jovian gas giant. And you guys launch out and take off towards this moon that you detected this tech on. And actually, what does it say about them? It doesn't say a whole lot. It doesn't say a whole lot at all. But it is a large gas giant, so I mean, I'm not gonna. Pappy, go ahead and make another piloting plus dex check for coming into Atmo and landing.
Coming into Atmo and landing. Everybody grab your butts.
Okay, so you bring the Desinex kind of in an upside down move as you're coming into the atmosphere. This former colony is on a moon that is racked by storms. It is barely habitable as you are coming through the thick, heavy cloud layer of this moon. You finally come down below this thick, volatile cloud layer of lightning and flashes around you to an almost near constant drizzling rain and high winds. Like I said, this moon seems to be barely habitable. And who is going to operate sensors?
That's got to be Mel with his +3.
Yeah.
Right.
Mel's going to be the go-to guy for almost anything like this.
Well, Sarda's got sensors of 4, but
Right.
who's not here.
Right.
So
So yeah, so Mel scans and comes up with a positive location on where this this whole thing, this colony likely is, and it does seem like there was some kind of what's going on with this. Right. Huh. Weird. Anyways. So it does seem like there is this. This is gonna annoy me. Sorry. That.
like there was plants growing here at one time. All over.
That's better.
I don't trust random plants.
Well,
But
Learn my
the
lesson.
the question is why did the plants die? I mean, is it because the atmosphere changed, or did they get, you know, it? If it would have been the fungus, it would have ate them.
there it is. And so, one of the things that you immediately note is that there is here. There is some kind of siphoning tech for water. It looks like it probably is at least partially for refueling.
So is that area right next to it, in theory, a landing space?
So this right here is a crater that is big enough that you could land the Desinex there.
That would protect it from stuff, in theory.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine asteroids are kind of like lightning. They don't generally strike the same spot twice, but I mean, you can't really bet on that either.
So I guess I'm making a piloting check to land, yeah?
No, you already
Yeah.
did a good enough job with that.
Guess we're gonna fully back up.
Yeah,
I
so
think so.
yeah,
Get our hazardous stuff, hazardous vac suit, hazardous conditions.
yep. You guys want to do hazardous vaccines? And you can equip yourselves however you like.
Oh, I'm bringing my gauze sniper rifle that I've reprinted up since I gave Pappy my other one. And
Yeah,
I don't yeah.
I
I don't
would
have
think there
anything
was
but
enough
heat
time for
rounds.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't printed up any heap rounds?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I've been
Okay. Well, we will break here for the evening and pick this up, I believe, next week. Yes.
I believe
Yes,
so.
on the 13th. I just wanted to double check my calendar because I have it here marked. I will be gone the 25th through the 27th, so that's not for a couple of weeks. But I'm going to go up to our friend's cabin for a couple of days and, kind of
Nice.
commune with nature.
Heck yeah.
So, all right, so we will pick this up next week
yeah.
at 6 o'clock on Friday night.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and Sardo
Yes, sir.
will be here. Yeah. Sardo will be here for the big investigation.
Yes.
Which is shit he likes. So
Yes.
that was fun. Good
All
seeing
right.
everybody.
Cool. I will see you guys next
that's
week.
cool.
And I'll see
guys.
you
All right, see you
tomorrow,
next week.
Brian and Wes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Have a good night,
Good night.
guys.